Have you ever had any beef, or have you ever been in a situation like that?
Never to that extent. No, I mean, like I said, I mentioned me and Jason Lawrence at the time. I was Pro Circuit Kawasaki. He was Yamaha Troy. Dealt with call it similar things as that. Everybody knows there's like the iconic shot of Hangtown where I wheelied my bike up into his him and his face and his helmet and things like that. Like that making a statement of like, hey, this shit's got to stop type thing. But no, never to the extent of a 20-minute like all out brawl where it was, involved in so much racing behind, you brought it up, I think, pre of this show, RC, like warning flags. Like, I think that could be a massive, and I don't think I don't think it gets used very often, but I
Right.
think in this scenario right here would
Yeah.
have been much needed in this current scenario of a warning flag. You said F1 has it. You said
MotoGP.
MotoGP has it.
I saw this from DV, David Villman. DV,
Yep.
I think you listened to RV and I's show. And the only reason I say that because he commented on a topic that we were
Yep.
talking about that he agreed with. And he did say, I thought it was cool. Like AMA have a warning flag and you wave it in the race. You're giving the rider the warning, whatever rider you feel necessary to give the warning to. And if they don't abide by that, then they throw out the black flag and then you have to pull off the track. So
Mm.
I actually like that. I could think it could be effective, especially if you have a rider that's doing something multiple times for sure. I like that.
Exactly in that, that was a, DV head, like I think nailed the nail right on the head with that. Being very careful on how that is used, not being abused. I think that we've had, oh, what happened to was it Osborne and Savachi? That was a one-time pass. That was one time in the turn. It was for a championship, yes. But what was the difference was is Osborne was racing forward through the pack, and Hayden was racing behind him the entire time, trying to affect the outcome of it. And personally, just from a racer standpoint, was it entertaining? I guess you could say it was entertaining, but then on the back flip side of it, I wouldn't want to race with somebody like
No,
that.
no. I
And
think
RC, having enemies is a massive problem. You don't need to be friends, but having all out enemies in a situation like what we saw, and why Hayden is in the situation that he was in is because of the beef that say him and Levi had early on, and whatever else, and just call it running his mouth. Like Levi didn't give him an inch, and we
like
saw it.
you heard what Joe he said to Joe.
Dude,
Did you like that? What he said to Joe before the moto, and then what Joe said in the press conference?
I died laughing when Joe was at the presser after the race.
No, he said no. It was actually like not bad. Like he said, "You're never gonna know what's about to come." And I said, "I don't speak English."
I don't speak English. I loved, and Joe's facial expression was so awesome too when he did it. Like, I don't see Joe do that very often, like that, kind of smart ass little bit of like that. It was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah, it was, dude. It was priceless. It's cool to see Joe like have fun with it. And now listen,
Mm.
he's on the good side of it. He probably wouldn't have been as playful had he been on the opposite side of it. But yeah, it was interesting. It was a lot again, and it's just the bigger picture and how, you know, how he goes about things, and it's aggressive. He don't give a damn, and at the same time he has fun with it. But we've said it a litany of times here, is like you can't have enemies, and you rather have people that aren't against you, and that's the bigger thing. And then if you're gonna do that, like I said, um you got to make that first shot count. And
Mm.
if I mean, and he didn't, so
I
then
agree.
then it was it's just kind of like we're in the booth. I'm like, Like, it was just quiet. We were just sitting there watching, It was just, yeah, got to make the first shot count. And then after that, like you said, just go on and just wax that ass and, show everybody you're the best. And, had you not gotten taken out for built up frustration from other riders, and you'd probably be the SMX world champ.
And I think that would have been a bigger statement than where he sits currently today, busted up and no MXON.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of beef, but so I was digging through some photos last night, and with all these fines and riders getting docked and what's dirty, what isn't dirty, and so pull this picture up of me and Windham. So, okay,
Look at your
give you some context here. All right. This was just for a race win. Okay. There was no championship on the line, nothing like that. I didn't get fined. I didn't get warned. I didn't get put on probation, probably because I crashed 2 laps later. I went to Indonesia in the whoops. But I mean, it's a different time. It
is a different time, RC, and I think we'll just start from the side. The speeds involved from current motorcycles today versus
I'm
your
not
KX.
proud of that. I'm not proud of that move, but I was
your
young,
KX
didn't
125.
give a damn, and God bless him. Brian Swink told me before the race, he's like, dude, you got to knock that dude off the track as hard as you can if you want to win this race, and this is how you need to do it. And I don't know how he didn't crash, and I don't know how I didn't crash. And I had one motive, and that was to go in there and knock him down. And yeah, dude, I mean, I teed him up, and the dude, he stayed up and kicked my tail that night.
And like you said, 2 laps later, you went to Indonesia.
Yeah, oh yeah, went off the track crying, and yeah.
Hey, karma's always a bitch, RC.
It is. It got me 2 laps later, crying, riding off the track, tail between my legs. Yeah, I got an ego reducer that night. But yeah, that is. But the speeds, go ahead. The speeds are different, and
I think there's that is why, and I think that's good having Ezra Lusk involved, Yogi involved with AMA, because he's been around it for so long. I heard him. I think it was on a podcast of some sort a few weeks ago, but him working with Pulp. Yep. Him working with AMA from a rider standpoint, and a guy that's been around the sport for a very long time. Let's face it, we do bang bars, and there's things that are totally okay, and then there's things that are not. So being able to not abuse that or make the right call is honestly just the biggest thing. And I think there's, like I said, there's been multiple passes that have been made and put on and takeouts that are legit, and there's been a pile of them that haven't been legit, and I think those need to be dissected through very quickly, so that we're not all waiting to find out what happens, or you do it the next day or whatever the case may be. And AMA's been better about that. They've been making calls very promptly. But I think that just the times are a little bit different, and they have to be looked at. Every situation has to be looked at. So that's just kind of my opinion. So
yeah, no, I agree. It's tough. They are working hard to get some continuity and be consistent, but there are certain situations that are different, and what's on the line, and what do they deem dangerous, what do they not. When I go back to I guess Denver, and what Hayden did to Davies was how he got on probation. We talked about it. I don't agree with that. I think that the angle, they nudged. It was nothing like what happened at St. Louis. And anyhow, long story short.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports. If you enjoyed what you just watched, well, it's time to bring the action and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel. You can have it all: news, highlights, interviews, and analysis. So go for it.